Hey, everyone. Alright, welcome to this place. So, I thought it would be nice to do a whiteboard session. I know a lot of you are visual learners. About this new moon. They say it's an eclipse. So, this energy will probably extend out. Usually it's anywhere between 6 months and a year and a half. You can also look back on this time frame. You know, it's not just anything that happens isn't just in that moment, right? There's like this trickle energy, or it's like, oh, okay, this happened, and then because of that, way down the line, it triggers something else to happen, right? But of course we have a lot of choice and free will in this life and how we want to go about it. So I will do my best to, I'll show you this fully. I just wanted to say hi. And before we do, when this idea came to me, then this song came to, where it's called The Garden Party. And there's a line, there's a I don't know, I think maybe it's a chorus. It says, how's it go? It's like, it's all right now. I've learned my lessons well. Can't please, right? You see, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. Dun, 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 dun. Let's read those first two sentences again. It's all right now. I learned my lessons well. Okay. Neptune and Pisces creates a lot of music, actually. We may actually be... a lot of beautiful musicians could be sharing, like creating in this time too. Just in general through that cycle. Little side note, I would say there's also going to be some children that are born that are like new, you know, maybe new Mozarts or that which, you know, we base a lot of our creativity off of, you know, it is so deep in the past, right? Whether you relate to Egyptian or Greek or Roman or Babylonian or, again, these classical expressions of music or painters, like, it's fascinating. You know, we think we're so living in the present, but I guess all of us in some way are living in the past, you know. But then coming to these, I guess that's another whole story. So let's look at the map. Love is the greatest power there is. So, excusez-moi. So, I'd like to share a little bit about what is on the map. Some of my brain thoughts. I don't like that that's in the shot. There we go. So, so it's in Aries, right? Aries energy. Let me explain again. Let's touch on, in case you're wondering about this, and you can add this to your notebook. Think about it later if you want to. I kind of made a tree where I went in order of degree from Pluto, say, being at 0, and then Sun and Moon at 29. This is in a tropical perspective, just for good measure, because most of you here view it that way. So the order, in case you're blind, from, say, beginning to end, which truly will make it it ends up making a circle. You know, Pluto, Saturn, Vesta, North Node, South Node, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Chiron, Uranus, all these little dot, 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 dot. How many are those? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Then we have Jupiter, Moon, Sun. Because of this, I took this as, like, I created like a mirror about it, which could potentially be lessons. Maybe some of you want to look in your map and see if there's anything to do with this. Pluto and the Sun. Saturn and the Moon. This could also be Scorpio sun. This could be Capricorn moon, Aquarius moon. Vesta and Jupiter together, that mirror, really beautiful to me. These ones, this is empowering. This is, it can be self-hurting. Like you can break with this combo. Okay, so you got to watch that. Vesta and Jupiter, very positive. We have faith, faith. This is also, remember, Jupiter rules our happiness in our map. Not just our sun. That's like an external happy. That doesn't really count all the time. It can be like a facade. Jupiter is the true happiness. North Node, South Node in Uranus is interesting. Venus and Chiron also, I feel like, is really beautiful and connects to this Jupiter Vesta. And then we have Mercury and Mars and Mercury, which... you know, there's a little conflict with this. So, but it's good to be aware of that because Aries is the soldier, right? Right now, Venus, the opposite ruler, that which softens Aries, Venus, is actually in the house of the battlefield. So it would actually be very easy on this moon and over the next 6 months or so to have difficulties with those that you love. But some of those hard conversations, those of you who have to go there, and of course there are different levels or intensities of this, right? It depends really on how much light has been shed into your own darkness, which we'll talk about that in a second. Robert Hand has some good thoughts on that. But what's beautiful is it heals something, you know, in relation to love. It heals something deeply emotional, something deeply in the soul, this process. But I would say that it's not easy because Mars squares this energy and so does Pluto. These two. Which Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. In sidereal, like in the stars, the South Node is also in Scorpio opposing this energy. So there's a lot coming at... it's like pushing it into a place, right? And I saw somebody like trying to push a baby out, but if it's breach, you know, then you got to be positive and have power in yourself, but also be realistic about what you're dealing with, right? Because you could hurt yourself. And I learned my lessons well. You can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself, right? The line that came before this is, when I got to the garden party, they all knew my name. But no one recognized me. I didn't look the same. Right? So there definitely is a change in who it is that we are. If you're curious, this symbol here that looks like a railroad crossing is called Parts of Fortune. It's a combination, actually, of the ascendant, the sun, and the moon. And it creates this point that to me is stronger than the North Node, which, mind you, sits here. And I hope this is making sense. To me, the Parts of Fortune, again, is stronger than the North Node because it shows you the direction. But see, it has 4 ways. Which way do you want to go? But all this is trining. This is a positive connection to this. So this is where you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself, right? Let's we'll mention that in a second. Let's start, since Pluto begins this line, right? Pluto is squaring off to this sun moon. We're going to read the moon because particularly this is a new moon. That's the focus of it, right? Moon square Pluto. This is according to Robert Hand. It says this transit can have many different effects, some of which you should be quite careful of. To begin with, it encourages compulsive behavior. Your emotions acquire so much momentum that it is difficult not to give in to sudden urges and impulses that may not be good for you in the long run, particularly if you have been trying to suppress any feelings. Saturn, moon, right? It says this transit is the least difficult if you can deal with your feelings honestly and do not try to hide them from yourself. It says on the plus side, however, this transit allows you to go within yourself and find out what you really want in any situation. Okay? It says emotional self-analysis is very effective right now. It's very effective right now as long as you are willing to be honest. Encounters with others may also force an emotional self-confrontation, which is useful, even though possibly unpleasant, right? We mentioned a bit of that. It says this transit may take the more negative form of emotional power struggles with others, which we'll talk about this in relation to Mars also squaring this off, especially Mars and Cancer. Either way, it says you may play the role of either perpetrator or victim. This is the choice here with Pluto square the moon. It says what happens is that you or the other person uses or manipulates feelings and emotions in order to force the other to do something that he or she does not wish to do. Guilt, jealousy, and other subversive techniques are characteristic of this process and may be used to manipulate someone's behavior. But this in turn may provoke a really nasty response from the victim, whether it be you or the other person. So something there to really be aware of. Okay. This could be family members. It could be your spouse. It could be wherever it's coming from. Although I feel that because if we put in all the stars, it's like everything's down here. This lower portion of the map, because the south node's up here, it's like this is not about other people. It's not. It's about the bottom of the map is your self-reflection and introspection. This is your personal, private world, right? This is, that's important. Remember, the bottom of the map is ruled by, in essence, the moon. So really, this could be a moon in Scorpio, like Cancer, Venus, which is actually really beautiful. Let's read one more thing before we dive into this map. A positive here. This will be a positive. Again, we just talked about a challenge and something, again, to be aware of. Be positive, but be practical. Jupiter is also, I guess we'll take it this way, because it technically trines the ascendant. Jupiter, remember, is our happiness. Whenever anything comes off of the ascendant in a positive way, especially a trine, it creates a beautiful form of like light and vitality. And remember, Venus, the way I'm seeing it, is Jupiter connects to Vesta. Vesta is the most faithful, like dedicated, devoted, that in this physical life deeply to spiritual means. It's so beautiful. And it's not an individual attitude, neither is Jupiter. This is group. This is good groups, right? Good connections here. So let's look at Jupiter trine the ascendant again, according to Robert Hand. It says this transit will signify your willingness to grow in consciousness and experience through your contacts with others, and to be more magnanimous and willing to help others. In this, you are helped by the fact that your relations with others are very good at this time, and you experience people at their best. I suppose this is going to matter, again, where you are on the path, because I could see for some folks, this is a collective, we're just talking collective energy. Some people are real heavy on this end, right? And that could be scary, but I guess we all are where we are. I suppose this is, again, the other end of it. It says this makes you more optimistic, and you rightly believe that whatever you give to others will be returned with interest. I'd watch that one. A person may enter your life now who really helps you out in various ways. I could also see for some of you this could be recently. Someone that's been like around, maybe you didn't notice or give attention to, but it says a person may enter your life now who really helps you out in various ways, especially by teaching you something about the universe and your role within it. This learning will be on whatever level you are ready for. Pluto, right? Where we mentioned this lately, like the soul's environment, right? Hold on a second. The learning will be on whatever level you are ready for. Perhaps simply learning to be more tolerant and open to new ideas, or even encountering deeper spiritual and religious truths through this relationship. So certainly you are ready for a greater spiritual understanding of the world now. You need to experience more than the superficial banality of life that many people become mired in. Although you are inclined to idealize the world in general and certain persons in particular, in the long run you will find out that this is not a delusion, but a period of truly expanding knowledge. Your learning at this time is not limited to spiritual truths, for you are in general more intellectually eager and willing to learn. This is an excellent time to go to school, take a course, something that will give you greater insight into the questions that interest you. I could also see this as psychology, like some kind of awareness around astrology, things of this, again, deeper nature. It says, on occasion, this transit will signify the beginning of a relationship that can bring you great emotional happiness. It could be a new love, although it is much more likely, if indicated more specifically by other transits at this time, any new love that comes along will be very beneficial to your personal growth, whether or not it lasts. So, and I do see for some folks, because this happened 5 years ago, where a lot of people, if you looked at the divorce rate, the people who changed their careers 5 years ago, this was high. It was really high. And now we're in another cycle. We're 3/4 of the way through Uranus, which, remember, Uranus is actually conjunct Juno, which is our star of relationships, okay? So there's a lot of gray area between these two places, between Pluto and Jupiter, right? And what actually is in between there on this map that we created here? Saturn and the Moon. Let's actually read that, because I feel like this is an undercurrent, because Saturn is this physical world, right? Well, there's always a feeling of lonely with Saturn and the moon. You know, there's like where someone's afraid to say how they really feel, right? They're afraid, Mars, how to say what they really feel, like talk about it, Mercury. I suppose if you do face fears here, especially in ways of communication with others, this Mars, really big deal. Hello, Wasp. There's also this interesting thing going on here where it's called a mutual reception. We're taking this tropically, so Mars, they say that Mars is in Cancer, right? But the moon, this eclipse is in Aries. Hi, Cat. So the moon is in Aries. The ruler of Aries is Mars. Mars is in Cancer. The ruler of Cancer is Moon. They call this a mutual reception. Okay? This can have a lot of positivity because it can, I guess depending where you are down the line, on the path, it can soften this energy so that it would be more in that Jupiterian, like, okay, you know, I heard you figure out your shit, you become happy with yourself, right? Then really whoever you're around is enjoyable, and that which doesn't vibe with you or is no longer good for you, because there is a difference between good and evil, you know. It's free will. Again, we can do anything we want. We can be as scared or as loving as we want. We really do have that choice. Now this can also have kind of back, how would I explain that? Almost like an undertow. It could be an undertow energy. Give me a second. Let me close this book. Oh, hi, Spidey. What else did I want to talk about? As this sits in all this, there's a lot of Aries energy in the 4th house, right? Which averagely makes this a, let's take it, if Aries is 4th, let's averagely take this as a Capricorn rising. So this is a very, Capricorn rising to me is like a soldier, you know. They're so dedicated, they're so devoted, they can really take on a lot, but they're super hard on themselves. And actually, the only time that this energy will express how it really feels is usually with women, and only like in a private space, you know. And I see for some this really needs to be had. Now again, back to this 4th house. 4th house is a big house. You know, it's the house of... Hey, Wasp. That's a little close. 4th house is home, right? 4th house is kind of our heritage. Let's take it in a surface way first. When Moon is in the 4th house, there's a lot of change, right? There's like always this ongoing change, or there's a lot of people going in and out of the house. So actually, I see those of you who work at home or run your own business, you could actually have a lot of people, you could have a lot of clients that come in, or like business that comes into this, something to do where it actually helps a person feel more comfortable. Maybe there was fear for some of you around that, but I see that actually really positive. This could also be if you live with a lot of people, it's like there's a lot of energy always going in and out. That could have been when you were little too, if we go way back. Like I heard, who was happy when you were growing up in the house? Who was happy? Now, sometimes this can be, say with home, this could also be, because Aries is a go-getter too, this could be making plans over the next 6 months or year and a half. Maybe some of you want to buy a home, right? Maybe you stop being afraid of money some way, somehow. Or, I don't know, what people have said about you, or what you've told yourself about what you can achieve. I mean, home is just comfort, really. But of course, with this generally being set up like this is physical, too. That's important. It could also be repairs, right? Repairing things. Maintaining things. Making sure that things are in order and right. Now, Mars is in its fall. It's very uncomfortable in Cancer because, again, it squares its ruler. So it's really important to, especially if there's manipulative women in your life, you got to be careful of those. Okay, or maybe it's what used to be. I mean, I suppose we all at times try to make things what we want them to be, which I guess in a sense is a form of manipulation. That's why I don't really care for the Magician card. It's always being, I don't always see it positively. Usually I don't, actually, because it's trying to, again, make something what it's not. And I guess that's more of the thing. If there's people in your life, especially this being in the house of other people, because remember, the 7th house is open. Excuse me. The 7th house is open enemies. These are people that you already would know that are not your friends. They're not, it's just like, they blatantly tell you like, no, you know, or whatever it is. It's all really obvious, you know. So just be aware of that too. That, again, that manipulation aspect, because it's not really the other person manipulating us. It's it's us allowing something to happen, right? If you have your own form, then someone else can't take you and be like, boop, 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 boop. I'm going to make you into this. And it's just like, fit in this little box. And it's like, no, I am who I am, right? I went to the garden party. They knew my name well. But then no one recognized me because I'm a different person now, right? And I learned my lessons well. Because you can't please everyone. So you have to please yourself. Because the Capricorn rising as a general, again, is going to want to please everybody else. To an extent, you know. Make sure everybody else is, you know, they're hard on the outside, but they actually act very motherly with people. So, interesting. Oh my God, that's it too. Look, this 7th house is Cancer. Here's the moon. Here's 1st house Saturn, which it goes back to this. All right. So let's look at moon opposition Saturn and close this out. Because I love Robert Hand. Honestly, I don't know if he's still alive. I'd have him read my chart if I could, because he is so good. Moon opposition. Now remember, when something in the 7th house looks to the ascendant, there's a strong force there. right? It's an easy access to the light of day. Remember, this is the dawn, right? This parts of, remember, it's called parts of fortune. So really, like, you know, success, you define success however you want. But to feel good about who you are, to have that light, again, in your soul, put light into those dark places. Well, I heard I'm so proud of you for your hard work there, wherever that's being, where it's been done, where it's being done. Because then that Mars coming at this really isn't that big a deal. Because I heard, you know when someone freaks out? Like, say if someone was just like, "You're a murderer! You're a squirrel murderer!" And it's like, you know you never killed, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be like, "No, that!" It would just be like, okay, there's a clown in the circus. I'm not going to be in the circus. I want to go over here. Peace out. You know? Love you, but peace. Okay. Back to it. Moon, opposition. Saturn. This is also mother opposing father. So this is also male-female dynamic, like, difficulties. Let's see. Saturn. Thank you. Now, this isn't technically happening. It's just something we're going to talk about because I feel like that lesson keeps coming. It is important, right? Where do feelings go? Scorpio said it once. Where do secrets go, right? It says this transit, although brief, can have a disruptive effect on your relationships. The problem is that it tends to make you feel very lonely and a person very lonely and isolated, as if there's no one to communicate with. Or if you did, it would just be a fight, right? It says, and this can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Perhaps unconsciously, one sends out signals to others declaring that you do not want to be bothered, that you would like to be alone. It says, this may get a person into a depressed mood that baffles the people around them, so they give up on you for the time being and stop trying to help you. There is a strong tendency to look on the dark side of life and to react much more strongly to disappointments and failures than to reinforcement from others and success. Thus, one plummets down into depression for no reason at all. It says the best way to handle such feelings is to do nothing. Don't take them seriously, right? Oh, circus. See you later. Don't take them seriously and don't make any decisions based on the way you feel, at least in that moment, if you ever get into this space, okay? And remember, over the next 6 months, year, just kind of be conscious of this. It says the perspective may not be very good, but in a short time you will feel much better and able to make much more intelligent observations. It says, whatever may feel quite cold and unfeeling with this transit, this too shall pass. It may be necessary later to explain to people that you were just in a bad mood, but everyone gets in such moods from time to time, and most people understand that. So this is also one of those things, is honesty, right? Just plain old honesty. Where you're at and how you feel without overreacting. Because Scorpio, the South Node in Scorpio, already been there, done that. I think all of us have already been here, done that, even if you're a young soul. Do you know what I mean? It's just 34. And I see, and God always has our back. Whatever your creator is, they support you, right? Vesta also connects to the sun and moon. It conjuncts it. So Vesta to me is your dedication and devotion. And remember, moon rules our mind and the way that we process feelings. The sun is how we figure out what we want, in a way. And what's really cool is, even if a person is on the beginning of this path and they're still stuck in the being manipulated by others, if it's earlier on, then you will get to the point of the Jupiter, right? It'll get there. We always get there. And I guess it's just a test or an experience. And those of you who have freed yourself from, well, you know, we can manipulate ourselves too. Be like, oh, I don't deserve any better. Or trick ourselves into thinking like, oh yeah, that person, you know, that person will change. It's just like, but it's all right now. I learned my lesson well. You see, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. La da da da. La da da da. Dun 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 dun. I forgot to mention too, a little side note as a closing. Lilith also squares off this energy, so this is to Vesta particularly. So this is if anyone is in like really unhealthy sexual relationships or this kind of jam. I would also say that it's definitely a great time to free yourself from things that just no longer are suiting to you. You know, and actually I forgot to mention, but Pluto is going to be squaring, it's been squaring this off since the beginning of this season. And it will until the 26th of April in a tropical sense. So that gives it about a week after this moon. It is going to be really strong. And I wouldn't be afraid to say what you need to say, but I would say that if there's been, again, like they mentioned, like repressed energy, it's probably going to roll it over. It could be very tower energy for some people. So, but remember, we never have to, what comes before the tower? The devil. And the devil is something that is so obvious. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel good. He never feels good. I mean, maybe it feels good for a minute, right? Like shooting that heroin, taking that sip of beer when you're stressed after work, having sex with that person, even though you just got in a big old fight and it's not healthy. Whatever. I don't know what we're talking about. Point is that it's a wonderful time to free yourself if you're attached to anything that is not. Because I actually just saw spiritual detachment, like a negative, like a soul sucking spirit, like finally, like, oh man, I'm free. That's what I heard. So if you're there, good luck. And if you've already done that, well, please, this is where the stage would be like, okay, this is emotionally strong people in your life that you're seeking, right? And that are coming to you. This is also really focusing on long term, right? Fourth house is also the house of the end of our life. And how we want to die, and where we want to die, and all the family, like, you know, really beautiful understandings and appreciations for where we've come from, you know, and how to build what we want now, not necessarily determined by what our past was, you know what I'm saying? All right, I hope that was helpful. I really do. It felt like I guess when everyone makes a big stink out of something too, it just makes it feel bigger. But I tried to record the May readings, and I did a few, but then I realized that the energy that was coming through was more specific to this eclipse energy, so those will be out probably early-ish May. I'm going to wait until this is completed. It's at least that week after, and let things settle a bit, right? You don't plant seeds on a new moon, and you never plant on a fire moon. You prune on a fire moon, right? All right. I love you so much. Please take care. Peace out. Is that a horsefly? It was. I want to read one last thing. So Pluto's been squaring the sun, if we take it tropically, and will until for a while, a little while after this, right? It kind of like causes this energy to roll into its next stage. So this may be a little bit of redundancy, but I feel like this would be a nice way to close this out. Sun square Pluto. It says this is a time when you have to encounter and even oppose powerful pressures and forces exerted upon you, both from without and from within. The way you live and exert your energies will be tested, perhaps forcing you to make radical changes in the areas of your life that you find are not working very well. The best way to use this influence is to let go of old patterns of behavior that today's events demonstrate to be invalid. Holding on to them will only make life more difficult, and if you do give them up, you will have room for the positive, creative changes that can take place now. In fact, one manifestation of this expression can be a powerful sense of having purged something from your life, which I sense, I guess we're just a little redundancy, like, right? It says it may be difficult to contend with other persons. They may demand that you be able to account for yourself and for your actions, which I suppose no one demands that of a person unless they're not doing it, right? Aries had this lesson a really long time ago. It's like, Aries, it's like no one gives you shit when you handle your shit. You know what I mean? So it says, if you can, right, be accountable for yourself and your actions. That's the only thing you're really accountable for. When this is done, you will have no serious problems. But this is also a time where things that have been left undone or done poorly, again, this is where we have to, touch it up, finishing touches, right? Now, I suppose if you are handling your own business, right? You know that you handle it. You know you're accountable for yourself. You know you handle all the things, Capricorn things, money, responsibility, all the jams, Cancer, like forgiving your family, being good to your family, expressing yourself emotionally, right? Libra, being fair, Aries, knowing who you are. Then if there's any such persons that show up that keep pushing on you, then you will know that they are just wielding and thereby abusing power. Okay? Again, back into the Pluto manipulation. Another thing with this is until probably the end of April or so, this can also represent the breakdown of machines or situations, so something to be aware of there. It says anything that tends to not function very smoothly will continue to work poorly, okay? It is a great time to straighten out the situation or fix something if it is able to be fixed. I suppose if you can't fix it, there could also be help. Maybe some of you, it would be like, okay, you don't have to get divorced, but you got to go to counseling, right? We don't have to get into all these examples. It says you will derive satisfaction from those aspects of yourself that prove themselves by you handling your challenges, okay? It says these parts of your life that you are handling well, they will be a great source of strength in the future, okay? Don't forget that. That's what all this hard work is for, Because strength strength could be, sure, like, I'm strong, I can pick up this thing, I can do this, but strength really is like, I'm not going to freak out about that. I'm going to approach this situation responsibly and patiently, with courage sometimes, right? If that's what's needed, maybe it's humbleness, maybe it's temperance. You know, I guess we get to choose whether we want to use a sin or a virtue. Usually the virtues work out a lot better, right? Again, those parts of your life that you are handling well will be a source of strength now and in the future. Okay? And I saw this again. We have to make room by letting go of the old, some way, somehow, so that we have more room for the positive, creative changes, because they can actually take place, like, right now. It's not even like you have to really wait for them. They could just be like, boop, remember, one door closes, another door opens. And I know we're saying this lightheartedly because we're trying to keep it positive, you know? But so please remember that love, you know, I love Pat Benatar, but love doesn't have to be a battlefield. I mean, you like a little spice in your life? Well, join a debate team. Talk to you later. Peace.